18th, 2002 to order. We rise to the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilmember Fantasia will do the invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow our heads. Please, Lord, help us find the wisdom, courage, and common sense to make the right decisions for the city of Newman. Amen.
Amen.
Do we have a roll call, please?
Present.
Present. Present. Present.
Present. To start off, we have a little ceremonial matter here, proclamation for Senior Awareness Month. Do we have someone here from the, I know we have Tom, he's old, he's here. And,
Which Tom are you talking about?
Well, our mayor's not so young either.
well, I'm older than they are. So.
Check IDs now. See who's the oldest.
You ready?
We have a proclamation of the mayor of the city of Newman. Whereas the month of May is officially recognized as Senior Citizens Month throughout the nation, and whereas the older citizens of Stanislaus County have made invaluable contributions to the growth and prosperity of our community, and whereas the Stanislaus County Commission on Aging and Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors, through the Area Agency on Aging, will co-sponsor the 29th Annual Senior Awareness Day on May 18, 2002. Now, therefore, I, David Reed, Mayor of the City of Newman, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim that the month of May 2002 be and hereby is celebrated as Senior Awareness Month, and it's Saturday, May 18, 2002 is designated as Senior Awareness Day. Tom, did you have any more comments on Senior Awareness Day?
I feel better already.
Do you? Okay. And what, is there any local, I don't remember, is there any local thing going on for Senior Awareness?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. And the county has something, I know. It was in the paper today, and I just don't remember exactly what it was.
Turlock?
Any communications from staff to start with? Okay.
SEPA has a awareness day in Turlock on Saturday.
Oh, okay. That's at the fairgrounds, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, I remember now, yeah. Okay.
And in Newman, we're looking at the 26th or 28th of May as having our Senior Information Day.
June?
Of June, I'm sorry.
June.
Yes. Although this is...
How do we miss it by a month?
He's getting old.
Well,
I know we're a little slow, but you know.
gee.
No. Go ahead, Mike.
Turlock
I'm sorry.
got their bill in first, I guess. So. Basically, I wanted to go over a couple of things. One is you've designated me to be able to authorize parades in town, and we have two coming up, one on the 18th and one on the 19th for the FDS. First on Saturday at 10 o'clock with the cow parade, the squeaking wheels and all that to honor the Portuguese, and then we have the main parade on that for that same type of event on Sunday at 12 noon. The other thing I want to make you aware of is Stanislaus County Animal Control is going to have a rabies vaccination clinic from 9 to 11 at the city park, at Pioneer Park here, right in the corner of R and Q. And so you can take care of, that's one of two clinics that we're looking at having this year. And
What were the dates on that?
it's just coming up on the 18th, this Saturday. So I thought I'd give this opportunity to let the public know and the council. And then also that day, we're participating, the police department, among other safety personnel on the Von Renner's having, and Healthy Starts having a safety fair at the Von Renner Elementary School. And that's from 10 to 2. So it's kind of a busy Saturday.
Kind of all kinds of things going on this month.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be busy. Thank you.
Before you say anything, I've already had my shots.
Good point.
I'm sure glad of that. Items from the public, non-agenda items. While City Council welcomes and encourages participation in the meetings, it would be appreciated if you would limit your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard. Matters under the jurisdiction of the Council and not on the posted agenda may be addressed with the general public at this time. However, California law prohibits the Council from taking action on any matter which is not on the posted agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the City Council. Any non-agenda items? Mr. Rocha.
Well,
A little better.
Mr. Mayor, City Council.
Could you state your name and
Uh,
address for
I am
record?
Norbert Rocha from Westside Pallet, and as you know, I'm trying to purchase a piece of property to move my business, and so far, no, not getting anywhere. Supposedly, I was told there was a meeting today. I don't know. I haven't heard from Cleve if anything took place or not.
We just finished it, that's why I hadn't had a
Oh, I
chance.
thought you were supposed to meet in Merced today.
No.
Well, I have a suggestion, and it's come to the point where we have to do something pretty quick, because I don't know how much longer this is going to last. And I personally would like you guys to really consider making us, allowing a swap to be made in properties, the 4 acres that I have and the partial north of me, which is all ready to go. I could, if the swap was made, I can start construction real shortly and everything. I'm ready to go. My loan is ready to go. My contractor's ready to go. We're just ready to do something, and the bank is pushing me. They want to, if we don't get something going real soon, we're going to have to redo our loan, and we're talking possibly a higher interest rate, because we've been sitting on this prospective loan for 9 months already, because I was told we were going to be ready to go within a year's time on this, and that was a year from last March when I sat down and talked to Cleve about purchasing this property. And I've done my part, and so far his part hasn't been done. And I would really like to see if we can get something done like this. I mean, if something like this can't happen, I'm gonna have to look elsewhere, because it's just prolonging, and I have no guarantee from anybody when this is all gonna take place. And that's where I stand.
We did just have a closed session meeting regarding this particular item. Unfortunately, there were some things that even we weren't aware of as far as the property swap part of this. And so what we've come to the decision, the only path we have right now is just to try and push this thing through Merced County as fast as we possibly can. And we'll work on it. We'll be in contact with them daily. We have a couple of things that are being done and should be done by this weekend. One of them is, what was the floodplain?
Well, we're going to present that to Merced County, see if they will accept it. We
Yeah.
don't know, yeah.
Yeah, this is something that just came up recently, is that for the Stanislaus County part, we knew what that was. Merced has a different idea of it that they didn't let us know about. There were a couple other things that should have been taken care of, and you're right, they should have been done a year ago. But we are working as fast as we can, and we're just hope that you can stick with us, and we're doing our best we can to get this done. Any questions? I'll try and answer them, or have Cleve answer them.
I've been asking the same questions for 6 months,
I know you have,
and still no answers.
I have an answer for you. The consideration for procrastination, for the delays, and the faux pas that's on the city's behalf, there's assurances that there are accountability factors for that. In other words, the grievance that you have with things haven't come through to fruition, the mayor is explaining that we're forwarding it through to push it through as fast as we can. However, there are some accountability factors that we as city leaders have to take into consideration as well. Us with the decision-making process along with staff. So everyone will be held accountable for some of the delay, but some of it is not because of us. It's because we're also dealing with Merced County, and they have different ways of how they deal
with our interaction being in a separate county. Not the satisfaction you're gonna want because you can't move and do what you want to do right at this moment, but that closed meeting that the mayor is explaining, we discussed all those grievances, and at this point in time, that's the remedy that we have as far as pushing it through and trying to expedite it like we have been.
Yeah, but that doesn't guarantee me anything happening soon.
We don't have a time frame, unfortunately. That's a big thing. However, Cleve, you're going to be in touch with Mr. Roca as soon as you find out something, and if you don't hear something in the next couple of days, call me. I'll be gone tomorrow. I'll be home Thursday afternoon, and I guarantee I'll be over there and see you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roca. And again, I apologize for whatever it's a problem that's staff for not getting on it right away, and the council for not realizing things weren't going the way that they should have been going. Items from the public, agenda items. Any member of the audience desiring to address the council on a matter on the agenda, please raise your hand or step to the podium at the time the item is announced by the mayor. In order that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak, any person addressing the council will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes unless the mayor grants a longer period of time. Item number 8, public hearing, resolution number 2002, a resolution declaring existence of a public nuisance under ordinance number 95-4. Any?
Where are we at?
8A.
8A is the consent calendar.
No, this is 8A is public
I know, but
hearings.
on,
The agenda is the consent calendar.
No.
Well,
No,
right.
mine is.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Senior moment, Tom?
Yep.
Okay.
Find that, man.
Go ahead, Ernie.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. This item is a code enforcement issue. Stated in the city manager's report, we sent letters out to property owners letting them know about the need for property abatement. The list of property owners that failed to comply with the notice to abate were handed out to you prior to the start of tonight's meeting. Tonight's public hearing is to grant the property owners the opportunity to protest the nuisance declaration and to protest the proposed abatement procedures to be taken against said properties.
When was notification sent out?
They're listed on the notice that on the sheet that
4953,
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see the actual.
long time ago.
You're better
So, my senior.
These were just checked again today.
yes, they were checked this morning. We also have other properties that we didn't get letters out in and give them the ample time to respond, and you'll be seeing some of those coming before you at your next regular council meeting.
The gentleman at 1133 T Street, he was over there this afternoon cutting his weeds, so that's one less you have to worry about.
Oh, great.
That one that's on our 1133, the top.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Yeah, I heard him over there this afternoon. This is a public hearing, so we'll open the public hearing. Any questions, any comments on this particular item? None? Close the public hearing. Thank you, Ernie. Can we have some direction on the resolution?
I move we adopt resolution number 2000, next number, declaring the existence of a public nuisance under ordinance number 95-4. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passes 5-0. Item number 9, consent calendar. 9A is approval of warrants. 9B is approval of minutes of April 9, 2002 regular meeting, April 30, 2002 special meeting, and May 7, 2002 special meeting. Item 9C, a resolution establishing a tax-related appropriation limit in compliance with Proposition 4 for the fiscal year 2002-2003. Item 9D, adopt resolution authorizing a general fund administrative surcharge for non-general fund costs. 9E, authorize budget amount for depreciation transfer for 2002-2003 fiscal year. 9F, approve an amendment to the agreement with Charles A. Long and Associates to complete the updated city's capital facilities fees at an additional cost of $3,725. And finally, on 9G, participate in Senior Awareness Day by making a donation of $120. Any comments on the consent calendar?
Yeah, I'd like to pull consent calendar item 9C for discussion with staff.
And I would like to pull item number 9D. Can we have a motion on the rest of the items?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Approved? Or, yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item number 9C. Tim?
Yeah, my question is, this has been stipulated by the state under Proposition 4. I would just like staff to address it with an explanation of, in layman terms, what does this mean?
Good evening.
Good evening.
This particular item is something that we do annually. Back in 1978, the voters passed Proposition 13, which limited the amount of taxes that were levied against the property in California. Subsequent to that, in order to ensure not only was the amount of taxes charged, they beyond that, a couple of years later, they passed Proposition 4 and 11, which addressed spending of the tax revenue. So not only were local governments and schools limited in how much they were able to charge and levy on the tax rolls, they are also limited to the amount that of tax proceeds that they can collect. And that's basically it. When this passed, they went back a few years, and I believe it was to the late 70s, that they established a baseline. And at that point in time, they took all the monies that cities, local governments had, and the state as well, and established a base. This was your proceeds of taxes. That's what cities were limited to. You could not increase that, only if your population increased, or if the cost of living or the per capita income increased. So every year, we are required to go through and check the per capita income, and we use the state numbers, and our population increase, multiply that factor by last year's appropriation limit, and that's how much taxes we can spend on operating the city. That's the appropriation limit. Then you have a second part, which is called the appropriation limit the subject amount, the amount that is subject to the limit. That is going the other way. It's taking what our proceeds are and making sure that you have not spent more than that. And the good news is, or bad, that the money that the city spends, not a great portion of that are the proceeds of taxes. They come from other sources, the bonds, the fees that we charge for the consumers, for water services, sewer services, and that sort of thing. It's not coming from the proceeds of taxes. So this just makes us go through and make sure that we're not spending
More money.
more money. Correct.
Thank you. That's the point I wanted to bring out in this report.
Oh, okay.
Don't run off yet.
Okay.
Can we have some direction on item number 9C?
I move that we approve warrant item number 9C, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Opposed?
Passes 5-0. Item number 9D. I know we've gone over this before, and I still have a problem with it. We charge what is the percentage we charge to administer an account?
It works out to be between 14 and 15% using our formula, which happens to also be the accepted accounting practice of 15% for indirect costs. But we don't arbitrarily say 15%. We go through and we see how much we have spent in non-general activity, general fund activities. We go through and we see how much we spend. How much does it cost to run the city? The operation cost out of the general fund. You take a ratio of that, and if you're spending a great deal of money in a non-general fund, and it's general fund subsidized employees and city services that are doing the job, you're having, the city is, for example, redevelopment agency. We spend a great deal of time on the redevelopment agency, but our salaries is not funded by that. So if we spend $1 million in the redevelopment agency and we spend $40,000, $50,000 a year administering it, the general fund is funding, subsidizing this other fund when we're not required to do that. We're requiring every fund to carry their own share. And it is based on the amount that is budgeted and then an adjusted amount based on the actual prior year's budget versus their actual cost. So we take the operating costs of every fund. And it happens to work out very close to the accounting the accepted practice of 15% for indirect costs.
Okay, the one that I keep getting questioned on and is of course, the business license surcharge fund. We show, let's see, we'd be on page 2 of this, I guess. No, that's not it either.
Page 3 has the actual
Page 3,
charges.
yeah, that's
yes.
it, yeah. There being roughly, what, 40 some odd $1,000 in that particular fund.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're taking a percentage of that, we'll say 15%, it could be less, I don't know. So if you have $40,000 in your fund, then $6,000 is coming out every year.
Yeah. It's
for-
not based on what the fund balance is.
It's not?
It's based on the amount of money that is expended. If a fund is sitting there being untouched during the course of the year, it's not costing us any time or money to administer it. If a fund has a lot of activity and business license surcharge has a lot of activity, we've spent quite a bit of time during the course of the year working on that subject. And if the expenses are high and revenue hopefully corresponds, it still creates an administrative cost. The charge comes based on the amount of the activity in what is spent. It has nothing to do with the fund balance.
Every time you send a bill out for,
Exactly.
you charge.
We ordered the flags for the downtown. We had to go over the invoice. We had to send the
No, I
invoice
mean the annual renewal.
The actual,
bill.
yeah, the renewal
Yeah,
billings.
those two.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
the
your
business
income, yeah.
license charges, the normal invoicing, anytime we pay a bill for a particular fund. The water fund is the same, unless they pay the cost directly. Sometimes the water department will pay for the utility bills. That's not counted in this. They wouldn't get charged extra. But any additional cost that isn't directly charged against the fund will, whatever they're running the warrants and all the work that is associated with administrating the funds
So,
is what's captured.
go ahead.
Okay, let me ask you another question then. I'm assuming that the 40,000 is sitting in LAIF. And
Yes.
it's getting interest.
Right.
Are entries made back to that fund?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's required by law.
And so basically, if there were no expenditures from that fund over a period of a year,
There would be no administrative charge
No charge.
assessed. Correct.
But it would go up by the amount of interest and by the amount of.
It would
of the
continue to
renewals,
grow,
right.
correct.
okay.
But every time you write a warrant, every time we
Uh,
do an agenda item before council, that takes time and there's a cost.
We have a couple chamber members here. Do you have any quick questions for Margaret before we go on with this? I think I understand how we're doing this now, and it seems like a large amount, but depending on how much it's used. Thank you, Margaret.
Margaret and Cleve, to their credit, we brought this up a few months ago, and they were Johnny on the spot about hopping down, and they sat with us, met with us at length, and really explained how they calculate this, and it seems, as usual, that Margaret's numbers are dead on to the penny. I will launch a protest a little bit about one of her calculations. She is factoring into this part of the mailing and billing costs. And if that means that we can get rid of the business license surcharge and get rid of our business license billing too, then that sounds great. But I think that you guys would be billing for the, and charging us for part of the postage and part of the envelopes and all that kind of stuff, I think is probably, it seemed to be a significant chunk of what this annual fee was. I want to say it's $1,200 or $1,400 a year usually. Yeah, and like I say, certainly can't falter math, but I do protest a little bit about being charged because you would be sending bills for business licenses whether there was a surcharge or not. And so I kind of felt like that was sort of a sunk cost. It wasn't necessarily a variable cost associated with the surcharge. But I do want to thank Cleve and thank Margaret, because when we brought this up, they were Johnny on the spot to sit down with us and explain it, and that was my only concern, that I think we were getting nicked on a fairly big chunk of it that the city would incur whether there was a business license surcharge or not. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. I guess that's it, Margaret, thank you very much. Can we have some action on item number 9D?
I move 9E?
9D.
D.
Yes.
Okay, I move that we approve consent item 9D.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. We go into regular business. Item number 10A, approve request of Newman Fund Run Committee to hold fundraising event with attached staff recommended requirements. Chief Brady?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to let you know that I won't participate in any voting on this item, as I am involved in coordinating this event.
Okay. You can just sit back and relax.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The city's been approached by the Newman Fun Run Committee to hold the 5th annual, not the 4th annual, Newman Fun Run, and that's going to be held on Sunday, May 26th. This event has been changed from April to May, which is also a holiday weekend. This event in the past years in April is felt by bad weather and it kind of dampened the event, the turnout, and possibly some even the fundraising that was attempted. But in past years, when they did have good weather, we had they were able to raise up to about $10,000 for some charities, and we had about 3,000 people in attendance. So, and for the last 4 years, we've had nothing but no problems at all during this event. And it's a good family event. I think it does goodwill for the town. And I've been working with the committee members, John Fanazia and Mike Molinado, on the details of this year's event. Unfortunately for us, in April there was an incident that occurred in Laughlin, Nevada, involving some biker gangs, and that kind of puts a different light on what we're looking at for this year's event. There's some concerns with your possibility of problems, and we want to make sure that we have a very safe event, because it's a family-oriented event. And so what we're looking at is basically coming up with more manpower to show a strong presence in this year's event, but that's going to come at a cost. And I'll discuss this in a little bit more detail later in this report. But we have some requests. And basically what we're looking at is some of these are the same as last year, looking at the street closure, Main Street from Kern to Merced from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we're also looking at the extensions of Tulare and Fresno as they come off of Highway 33 or N Street. We're looking at the use of the city parking lot and the small parking lot by Foster's Bar and the barber shop. And the use of city barricades. They're wanting the waiving of the drinking ordinance that we have in our public streets for the use of a beer garden. And that the city the officers provide for the security of the event at the cost of the city, not to the Newman Fund Run, or actually splitting that cost between the two. The council waived the business license for out-of-town vendors participating in the event. Mr. Panazine and Mr. Maldonado are aware of the $1 million liability insurance. I believe they've already have that in place. What I'd like to do is kind of look at what we're looking at as far as the cost of this event. What I'm looking at is, as I said, putting on a strong presence on this event. I'm looking at, I put in appendix number A here, our cost breakdown, what we're looking at as far as, I'd like to bring your attention to that, just so you kind of look at what we're looking at this point. This would be the high point of what we're looking at. In the past, the security, because the event has been, hasn't been well, because of the weather conditions that we had, we were able to cut officers loose much quicker, and we were able to handle this event in-house. So it means that all our officers were on staff either through payback days or on overtime for this event. We were able to keep it down to about $500 in the past years, but as you can see, that price has substantially gone up. What I'm looking at is bringing in an officer from Modesto and from the Sheriff's Department. These are from the gang units, and that's to help us to help on the intelligence, to identify people who might be problems for us. We're also looking at bringing in additional staff from Gustine. As you can tell, we have some of our officers are on payback, and we have our reserve officers and some of our other officers on overtime. We are trying to keep the cost down. We have due to the way our schedule works, we have things called payback days. We have 5 of those a year, and we're utilizing one of those days to bring officers in. We're actually no charge to the city or the event. Again, my services and my lieutenant were on salary, so we're there and we're at no cost also. And then we're using our regular staff. So I'm looking at this being a high-end cost of about $35.72. This also has a training component as part of it, and I'm looking at this because there's we don't normally handle biker gang type of individuals, and we're looking at having our officers trained in problems that may arise out of that and how to handle those events. And so we're looking at specialized training just in handling that type of problem if it does arise. I think it's a comprehensive program. This is the highest it could be, and it may end up becoming less. We're looking at ways that we might be able to even bring that cost down. I have recommendations going back to what we have here. These are pretty much the same recommendations that you've seen for the last 4 years. Number 17 is a little bit different, and that's because of the events that we're kind of looking at here. I'm sorry, number 16, and that is due to the unusual circumstances of possible motorcycle gang violence, that if it is determined that there is a possibility of violence from motorcycle gangs attending this event, that upon the recommendation of the Chief of Police and the City Manager may cancel this event, withdraw the permit at any time. And that's the only change that we have as far as any of the other conditions that we've had in there. They're asking for, as part of their recommendation here, they're looking at splitting the cost. My recommendation here is that we don't.
Splitting which cost?
The cost of the overtime. So if you just look at above there, they have a request that they're looking at. They're looking at splitting the cost of the security for the event.
So half of 35.72, is that
Right.
Okay.
That's what they're looking at. And the out-of-town vendors, there's a $25 charge for that, and it wouldn't be any charge for the local charities. Is that correct, Margaret? So. And I'm not sure they have very many outside vendors to begin with, so I think it's all pretty much in-house. Yeah. So it's not a considerable sum in any case. So, and I do have Mike Maldonado. I think you would like to come up and address the council regarding this event. Please come up.
Chief, before you get away.
Oh, darn.
Well, it's an easy question. You mentioned
Yes.
it several times about and I think this is a very good idea and forethought on your side, to have the gang officers, because of the recent incidents that we're aware of. What kind of training is going to be provided and when? Prior to the event, I hope.
Yeah. Yes.
Because you mentioned it several times, but you didn't mention.
Well, we are.
On the
I don't
job
want it to be
training.
infield training.
No, we get enough on-the-job training as it is. But basically, we're looking at the 23rd. That's a few days prior.
Few days
We want to make
prior.
sure it fresh in everybody's mind, and we're also going to have a briefing prior to the onset of this event, just so everybody's on board, because we are going to have some people that are not from our
So
community.
is that training going to consist of perhaps the Modesto officers that are special?
Actually, we're having the
coming
sheriff's
in?
office. He's supposedly one of the detectives there. He's from their gang unit. He's going to be the one that's going to be offering that training. He's supposed to be the best in the county, so
Okay.
we brought him over.
But these particular officers that you're looking at bringing in, they'll do a pretty nice briefing the day of the event as well.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike, I had a question.
Yes.
I have a real concern for security, and I've gone to this event probably 3 of the 4 years, and I've always enjoyed it. And I think that the people of Newman want to feel secure when they go downtown. And I think you're trying to give us that feeling that you'll have enough officers down there to take care of any problems that should arise.
I'm asking for more officers this time and having more on the street than we've had in the past.
Well, what is the atmosphere between these motorcycle groups right now? You see, this happened in April when they had a confrontation. And have there been any other types of gatherings where they've gotten together since that time?
There haven't been any in this county, but there are some events, some smaller events going on this coming weekend.
I think the Memorial Day weekend, isn't that the weekend that the Hells Angels have their big get-together at Bass Lake?
Well, we haven't
They
been able-
used to, I don't know.
We
if
haven't been able to confirm that information, but there is an event going on at Tulare. And
Is there?
Mike
I know
Maldonado
they used to have a
has
big
been-
thing at Bass Lake over that Memorial Day weekend.
Right.
So anyway, I have those concerns, and we should, of course, we have to provide the protection to the people that live in this community. So as long as you can give us a guarantee that everything's under control.
Whoa, that's a hot seat
No,
there.
I realize, that you can't give us that type of guarantee, but
I would be very honest with you. If I felt the event was not something that we could man and give a safe event, I would be coming to you with a whole different
okay,
perspective.
that's what I wanted to hear. That's what I wanted to hear.
Well, I'm not worried, I'll be out of town.
Not
Anyway.
that you have to,
Tom.
des-
No,
not that you have to describe it, Chief, but do you have a contingency plan if things were to go awry?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
This is the
very
first
good.
time we've actually had an operational plan in case things did.
Very
really
good.
go
I'm
down.
confident to hear that.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. While Mike is coming up here, did we waive the business license fee for the booths last year? I don't remember.
No.
We didn't. Okay, I've got something I was thinking about there. Go ahead, though, Mike, I'll talk about this later.
Mike Maldonado. Basically, I'm here just to ask you for those two things, that split the cost of the extra officers, or whatever that bill will be. If it's on the high side, split that. If it's on the low side, just split that. And also to waive the $25 business license fee for the vendors that are coming in. And basically just here, if you have any questions about the motorcycle side of the event, basically, is why I'm here.
Yeah, on the vendors, do you get a percentage of their take?
We get $50 out of the vendor fee. If you guys take the $25, we will only receive $50 instead of the $75. And this event for the last 2 or 3 years, like Mike says, because of the bad weather, we've been running in the red. And if we run in the red again, this is probably the last year, so we're gonna need all the help we can get.
Well, you have one thing, you're running the beer booth. That never ran in the red for the other people who ran it.
That's
So
correct, but-
you're gonna have more than enough money coming out of there to do all of the,
I couldn't guarantee that, I don't know.
I would probably guarantee it. Right, Bob? Just about.
Well,
And even the worst one, 2 years ago, we made money on it.
yeah, we did.
Oh, yes, we did. Yes, you did. We gave you money.
I understand that, but we did not pay all the bills with the money you gave us.
No, but then the following year, we
That's
made.
what I'm worried about.
But
I'm
what I'm
worried
saying
about
is,
paying the
you're
bills.
gonna make it this year, though. You have the booth yourself this year.
We've got 2 years to make up.
Right.
That's what I'm concerned about.
What I was going to suggest was that we go ahead and charge the business license fee and then kick that into the part of our half of the fee for security. I don't know what, you said there's about 12 booths maybe outside, so
Yeah, that's.
it's only $300, but it's one way that we could offset some of the city's costs
Well,
there.
So put that towards the city's cost of the
Yeah.
security?
And you were
It's
suggesting,
all, at that point, it all becomes general fund money anyway, doesn't it, Margaret? So that's, yeah. It would, that essentially would be doing that anyway.
Yeah, but this would offset some.
Because the
We have
business
some
li,
coming in at the
the
same
business
time.
license
Yeah.
fund is a general fund,
Yeah.
account anyway, so.
Well, like I say, you'll have some coming in, you'll have that going out, but you'll have some of it offset by that, so.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just so I'm understanding clear, you're suggesting then that the city shares in half the cost of the security
no,
measure?
I didn't
Did
say
you
that.
say, I didn't hear you then, what did you?
No, I
just
said that
$300?
whatever we
I thought you said
charge
that.
for the
I thought you
business
did.
license fee would go toward the security.
Oh, in other words, 3,500 less 400.
Or
3,500
whatever.
less the
I
amount
mean,
of vendor
that's what
fees
you
that are
pay.
charged.
Right, you would pay 3,400,
On the
or
high side.
3,100 instead of.
But it's up to the council, whatever they think of,
Well, why don't we just do this? I mean, why, okay, we gotta have the license, I understand that. Okay, that's the same thing, we're just trading the dollars back and forth here. If we just keep the $75 and use that to help pay for whatever bill we have towards the police officer bill, it's the same thing.
it's less paperwork.
Well,
For
I
us,
think
yes.
what he was saying is that we're not going to go 50/50 on the
No, I
enforcement.
understand.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
say
I
we
understand.
weren't, I just, that was,
I'm confused.
that's up to the council. No,
Well, I
this
know,
this
but
was
that was
just,
your
this
recommendation.
money would go to that, to
help
offset,
offset the
to
cost.
offset the cost, of
Right,
total
well, that's-
cost. of
Well,
it.
that's what I said, instead of paying 3,500, they pay for 3,100.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
Sure,
the
that's what
bill
you
is that
said.
high,
well, whatever the bill is.
correct. Right.
I can concede to that. I mean, that means that we're contributing, but we're not contributing to
$1,600.
half of the cost. And I only say that because when you put on that type of affair, which I believe is going to be highly successful this year, ride my bike downtown this year, that it's setting a precedent that I know that we've done things in the past that I think it's going to be very successful this year because of the weather. And I think it was some
Well,
good
we
forethought
went through this
postponed, so.
last year with different events where we were covering things that got out of hand at a
It
point.
gets quite expensive for the city as
Well, I just say so moved. Tell them what you're,
What I
You want to
said, right.
restate your motion?
Okay, there's a motion that states that, yes, Margaret?
I want to be clear. So the group, the funding group will be responsible for the total security cost, and we will credit ever how many licenses are issued.
We will waive our license fees, basically.
No, it's not the same.
Or, well, we can either do that, or we can charge the license fee and then
Give 'em
take
more.
that off of, contribute that to the
That's what I
cost.
understood.
okay.
Yeah,
That
but
would-
it'd be
yes,
less
that's-
paperwork just to waive the
Right.
license fee and let them go ahead and pay the whole thing.
Pay the full charge.
Yeah.
Right.
But if we have, at least charge the license, that's the way we make sure that the license is done, that they do it, that we have the information, that they pull the business license that they're required to do.
Either way, it doesn't.
And then we would credit the amount back.
So that's the motion that,
You're right.
that's the motion Tom made, right?
Including the
rest of the staff recommendations.
Right.
Yeah, oh, yeah, but, yeah, to go along with staff recommendations, with the exception of that one particular thing.
Yeah, okay.
Does everyone understand that now? Tim, you understand?
I could state a formal motion if you'd like.
Sure.
that we can
go right
act
ahead.
on.
Tom,
I'll withdraw
you
my
do
motion.
object to that? Okay, go ahead.
I move that we approve the request from the Newman Fund Run Committee to hold its fundraising event with the staff attached recommended requirements, with the stipulation that the city forwards back to the security fee a portion of the business license fees that are collected.
You don't have to put portion, you don't,
Well, 100%.
you don't have to put
The
portion
amount that
in
the
there.
city collects.
Okay.
Okay, now, do we have a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0 and 1 abstain. Thank you both, Mikes.
Well, yeah, it shouldn't be that much.
Item number 10B, approve extension of franchise service agreement with AT&T Cable Services through December 31st. Cleve?
You have my report on this and the attached letter from George Logan, City Attorney for the City of Patterson. I've discussed this with George Logan, and he was the one that suggested and requested that we extend this agreement in order to allow us to do some more things and coordinate both the City of Patterson and the City of Gustine's contracts together, hopefully to increase some negotiating power in getting some more things that we would like to see. I mentioned in here, and he mentioned in his letters, one of the things we've looked at is similar to the City of Oakdale's contract, where they have stated simply that any agreement which is reached with the City of Modesto, who also has this cable company, will be extended to the City of Oakdale. So that's one of the options that we have that we want to consider, as well as other things we would like to get in here. So in order to get all of those negotiations done and to coordinate the two together, Mr. Logan was the one that suggested that this December 31st date be the one that we used. As you'll note, our agreement is done actually in the form of an ordinance. So I checked with our city attorney, and he said he thought that it was okay to go ahead and extend it, even though we're an ordinance, through December 31st, if that's the council's desire. If the council determines that no, they want to move quicker on this, my recommendation would be that we simply extend it on a month-to-month basis, because I don't believe that we can have everything done by June 12th. And we can move on it on a month-to-month basis. We can bring it back each month to extend it if necessary until we get the agreement negotiated.
Cleve, do we have any recourse when the cable goes out? Because it seems like it happens more often than not lately.
There's
Like
not
early
a
in the
lot.
morning especially.
There's not a lot other than we have the direct phone line, the pager, and the cell phone, and everything else to the guy that's in charge. And as soon as we know about it, we call him. But
How do the other cities feel about that? Have they complained too, or I mean,
I'm sure they
we can't
have.
be the only one.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
What other options do we have? AT&T cable?
That's the problem. The only other thing is to say, well, let's bring in another cable company. Well, you have to find the company that's willing to do that, to come in and buy out AT&T in this area and
Just aren't enough
provide the
customers.
service. And it's the problem with having a small market like we have.
I guess that's why everybody's going to the dish then. Huh?
How about putting a big dish on top of the water tower and just connect it to everybody's house?
One other question, and I guess the stipulation that's before us now is that we're trying to work in tandem with Patterson for that negotiating leverage.
Correct.
And I could see that as a reasonable decision. What about high-speed cable modem and some of the things that have been brought up in the past? Mr. Paul Wallace here that's at the podium has brought it up too, for people that telecommute. I mean, are they looking at any of those things to be able to provide out here?
We're too small.
Yeah, that's the basic
Is that
answer.
the-
I
that's
mean, we
the
can
answer?
always request that, and we can try to negotiate it in, but I'll tell you that it'll be very difficult because of the size of our community and the number
I
of
looked
customers.
into it. What you can do is, there's a form that you can fill out, and you get people to, sign the petition with you, and if they get a certain amount, they'll do it. There's not enough people who live in this town to reach their goal. We could have everybody in town sign it, and it's still not enough to reach the goal that they need to put the service in. That's what I was told.
Yeah, I just wanted to address this one more time because it is a business issue. We're now in a position where high-speed internet access is no longer a luxury in business, it's now a necessity. And it's also going to be for these 500 and some odd houses that we have to build out here. We're either going to get people that can telecommute to good jobs, or I'm not quite sure who's going to move into those houses, but maybe that's not such a good thing.
It's the same thing with Pac Bell. We're too small.
And that's just my urge to the council, that in negotiating both these contracts, that if there's any way we can get high speed, that it does not bode well for the development, the economic development. Councilmember Applegate and Parker and Mayor Reed were at a meeting this morning where infrastructure kept being brought up, technology infrastructure kept being brought up as a real problem for economic development out here and getting good jobs, getting good people to move in. Just wanted to put that plug in one more time.
See it again in Patterson.
Thank you, Paul.
Or because they have a phone system.
Any other discussion on item 10B?
Yeah, you know, it's unfortunate that they have a monopoly, and of course, we have to deal with a lot of monopolies in our lives, but the people of this town, of course, are the ones that suffer because either because of cost or poor service or whatever else. And unfortunately, I don't know what we can do. I don't know what, even getting together with Patterson, I hope that it gives us a little more power, but you know, they don't seem to really care or listen to any of our complaints, and I don't know how to get their attention, so I guess. Oh, okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Cleve, you said that we can't get anything in place by June the 12th. If we go to December the 30th first, what can we get in place?
Well, I'm not sure. That's what we've got to look at. I want to work with Patterson and see what kind of things we want to try to do. You know, there's been things as simple as saying, you know, can we upgrade our council chamber equipment to get better picture and sound? Is that something that maybe they would contribute to? So there's things as small as that. More as far as public access channel, that we might be able to have a bigger part in the programming of a public access channel. There's various things like that. Even the programming that is here, you know, the number of stations that are available and the type of stations that are available to our community for certain packages. You know, all of those things are things that we can look at and try to get improved.
Isn't Gustine part of the system too?
Yes, they are.
Is there anything, maybe all three cities get together?
I can contact
I
Gustine
think
and see.
Los
what
Panos
they may
is
want to do.
Los
also.
Yeah, Los
Panos
Panos
is
is also. Sure.
Cleve, one other question. Have we had any meetings with AT&T Cable? I mean, have they ever come over to our side to discuss things that we're concerned about?
I have not had a personal meeting with them. I have talked with them several times on the phone about that, especially this last winter, I guess it was, when we had some bad outages.
But, I don't know.
And I
You would think
expressed
there might
my-
be some movement in that area, the fact that, well, no, I'm talking,
Yeah.
you know, we're
No, I
talking
understand, yeah.
other systems that are coming in. Satellite has made a little bit of a dent in their market.
Right.
Well, at one point, Bob Navoa was our liaison. When's the last time you talked to him? Huh.
There have been sales representatives over here for the, to put ads on their cable station, their stations, but it's the only person I've ever seen.
The problem with that, Bob, is you mentioned the dish, satellite dishes and et cetera. The problem with that is that is taken away from their market and decreasing their revenues too. And what that does is increases the cost for everybody else because they're providing the same service basically and getting less revenue for it. And that's going to become even more and more of a problem that we're going to see with cable TV.
There's 5 on my block.
Yeah.
Well, how about this? With this before us, it sounds like it's reasonable and prudent for us to try to up the numbers. We're going with Patterson. I think staff should come back to something that they've hammered out or talked to cable within that 6-month time. That at least we have something that we can sink our teeth into, yay or nay, one way or another, that we've at least addressed our grievances and the services we'd like to see.
What I'd like to do is maybe we set a date for, say, the first meeting in August to bring back an update report to the council on how we're doing on this.
Sounds like a plan.
Is that acceptable to the council?
Okay, do we have some direction to extend this through December 31st?
I move we approve the extensive franchise service agreement with AT&T Cable Services through December 31st, 2002.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item 10C, discussion and possible recommendation regarding 1/2 cent sales tax issue for transportation. Tim, you want to comment on this since you were up there at the StanCog meeting the other day?
Sure. The StanCog meeting that took place on May 8th, there was extensive discussion regarding a 1/2 cent tax, and I think the way that it was proposed by staff at that time was whether or not the policy board would institute looking at having the 1/2 cent tax brought as a ballot issue for the general public in the county. I relied upon the knowledge and expertise of Paul Caruso, having been around a lot longer than I have over the past 7 or 8 years, that this is not something new. It's not something that has not been brought up before, but the staff report that was presented that evening was basically deficient in a lot of different avenues with what the person sitting behind the dais had questions about. In other words, all the representatives there had a number of questions. What ended up happening was there was a vote to not bring it or have staff work on the half-cent tax ballot issue to try to push for it to be on the ballot in November. That came to vote. However, there was a 5-5 split, and under the guise of Stancog, it still passed for staff to take a look at it. In other words, there was going to be a tremendous amount of resources and energy put into it, time consumption, cost consideration, everything else pretty much looking at being put on hold for trying to rally this half-cent tax. It just sounded as if some of the persons that spoke that evening, there was I believe he was the president of the Chamber of Commerce for the city of Modesto, representing enormous contingents of businesses there in the city of Modesto, spoke out against it. Would like to see it, but would like it to be prepared properly so that there would be an understanding of what the money would be directed to, what type of expenditures would be purchased with the money, and also how the money would be split up between the other cities and the county in Stanislaus County. So there were a lot of unanswered questions. However, staff did take it back and is going to look at it, and not only for a ballot issue for this year, but perhaps in 2004. And I think there was a concurrence that 2006 was way too far out, that it should be brought because of the factors of that money could be put to good use. But it seemed like time was of essence right now, so we'll see what happens during the next 1 or 2 Stancog meetings.
Yeah, from what I understand, it'll be brought up at the next Stancog meeting. However, like Tim said, that we're really getting short on the time that we can get it on the ballot and get support for it.
Yeah, I think 2002 is kind of out of the question, but it's something that I don't see any possible way that we can, particularly our street maintenance, without something like that. There's just no way we don't have funds for street maintenance.
Well, I will say this, out of that, if you make it and target the spending specifically for street maintenance or whatever capital project or infrastructure it would be used for, it requires a 2/3 vote. So in order to kind of garnish that kind of momentum between here it is the middle of May, November is just around the corner, to get that information out and to gain that kind of support from the community, from the business owners, from property owners, from people in the community, it was looking a little bleak, but we wanted to remain positive on that avenue as a source of revenue. So.
And this would not only be street maintenance, but a lot of transportation projects within the county.
Yeah, and that was some of the questions.
That was part of that Renaissance project. That,
yeah, like you, I'd like to see it spelled out.
Yeah, and I think it'll happen. I think we ought to all get behind it, but it's got to be done right. So because it's they have to have somebody behind to really push to get that 2/3 majority. A lot of people just don't really understand. I think it's just another half-cent we're taking away from them all the time. So, Cleve, do you want to comment any more on that, or?
No, it just, it's from everything that I've seen, and I talked to the mayor about this, and I appreciate Councilmember Parker's comments, because it is, I think, an extremely important issue. We are so far behind when it comes to completing projects and funding projects in comparison with, look at San Joaquin County to the north of us, who has the half-cent sales tax. Merced County is going for it this next November. And the longer we wait, the farther and farther we're going to fall behind. If you recall, the council looked at this about 2 years ago, I believe it was. And at that time, the council, there was a decision came to the council, and they voted against it at that time. Well, the reason was, at that time, the state was sitting on about a $15 billion budget surplus. And I remember, I believe it was Councilmember Radford at that time said, I can't see us implementing a half-cent sales tax when the state is sitting on that much money up there. Well, we're not gonna see any more money for transportation for a while, I don't think, when we're looking at a $22 billion deficit now that we're having to deal with. And you heard the comments today, those of you that were at the meeting, they're projecting 5 to 10 years before the state is gonna be out of this problem that they're in as far as this budget deficit. So I think that transportation money is gonna be harder and harder to come by. Maintenance money is always the most difficult. There's quite often you'll find money for projects, but the maintenance money is very difficult to come by. If we could put together a half-cent sales tax issue that had some sort of guarantee for some maintenance money, I think it would be an excellent thing for the county. Plus, it leverages the money that you can get from the state and the federal government for these projects that we badly need in our county.
Well, if it comes up on next month's StanCog board meeting, what direction do you want to give me to take to the meeting?
If we have more guarantees that, what it's spelled out exactly what we're going to get, I think it'll work.
Yeah, I think, see what the staff brings back to you there, and if it's fits what we're looking at, for, like I say, if street maintenance for different cities is included in it, a good portion, I think that's the way to go. If they say, no, we're just going to do all other projects throughout the county, and maybe yours will have a project in it,
Okay.
and no, I don't think we should do it, but I don't know how everyone else feels about that.
Yeah,
but-
every city
okay.
should be entitled to some
Right.
too, otherwise why pay for everything in the county?
Right.
Yeah, I'm not giving a half cent up if we don't get anything.
Exactly. Just
Um,
the facts, we want the facts.
Any other discussion on that? Okay. Does that give you a good answer, Tom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Item number 10D. Discussion and recommendation regarding SCEDCO WIB consolidation. SCEDCO is the Stanislaus County Economic Development Corporation, and which did most of the work on job retention and trying new job creations throughout the county. They also did the small business administration workshops. There was a loan program. With the consolidation, the WIB is the Workforce Investment Board, and they are primarily in charge of training the workforce. They have a lot of money anyway from the federal government, basically, that will go, and we combine all of this because they were doing some economic development too, and we were doing some workforce training, and so with SCEDCO. So the two of them together I think will work out real well. Frankly, a few months ago, I was totally against this thing and was going to recommend that Newman pull out of SCEDCO altogether. The problem being that 80% of all of the funding for SCEDCO comes from the public sector, which means the cities and the county, and roughly 20% from private business, private industry. Most of the other counties, Sacramento, Fresno, all of those, it's just reversed. 80% comes from the private sector, 20% comes from the cities. And with that, on the SCEDCO board, there's roughly 25 members. And on that, the 9 cities in the county represent, so 10 out of 25 are on that board. And the cities are contributing 80% of the funds for that. With the combined board, there was talk of roughly a 50-member board, and you still have the 9 cities in the county, so you have 10 out of 50. And the difference being now, though, is that the funding is still coming from the public sector, but more from the federal and state governments. And with the WIB consolidation, there will be a much better working relationship with private industry, and that hopefully we're going to turn that around so that the private industry will contribute most of the cost to this. So and we've also had some personnel changes within SCEDCO, and that's for the better. And I think that, personally, I think it's probably a good idea now to combine these two boards. And that's going to be, a vote's going to be done on that on this coming Monday. So what I want to really do is get the rest of the council's opinion on this, so that give me some direction which way to vote on this merger. So anyone has any?
Yeah, on the two meetings that I went to on Monday and Tuesday, and talking with the people that were there from the cities, they were in the same opinion that you had at the beginning, that no, it wasn't a good idea. But of all the ones I talked to said that, well, since they have seen what was going to happen, they thought it through, that they were going to vote for it. You know, I think you heard the same thing that I heard.
The mayor from Waterford, Charles, mentioned that yesterday.
Yeah, I think most of the cities are on board now. The Workforce Investment Board has already approved it with their members. It's just the SCEDCO has to vote now for it. So.
How are we going to see the turnaround in that percentage of public funds, the 80-20 that we're seeing with the number increase?
By law, the Workforce Investment Board is, I forget the percentage, but primarily all private industry, or
Okay.
private company. Pardon? Yeah, basically, but it'll be probably a little more than that right now. And it won't be the total Workforce Investment Board and the total SCEDCO board, because some of the members are on both boards. And the latest figure I got last week was it'll be somewhere between 45 and 47 members on the board. So, but now, due to the conflicts with the what was it, the nonprofit status, they're going to have to spin off the loan part of it and the small business administration, and that's where the income was coming from. So now it'll be coming from the other sources. I think Workforce Investment Board has $500,000 to contribute at this per year or something, comes from the state. So anyway, I think it's really something we ought to look at try it for about a year and see what happens. If things don't change and it looks like that the cities are getting the short end, why, I think that we should probably thinking of pulling out. We can always do that. So I think what is our cost per year? About close to $3,000, something like that.
I want to say around $2,000-3,000.
Yeah, it's somewhere $2,500 to $3,000.
$24.93.
Modesto's is $124,000 per year, and they have some unhappy people too. So, okay, you think that we should go ahead?
Well, I would make a motion that we give the mayor authorization to vote yes on the consolidation.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
You don't agree though, Ted?
no, I don't like it.
Before we get away from it, what is your?
Well,
Your
you
thoughts?
know, I remember there was a presentation that we had before us regarding this very issue. They came in with a PowerPoint. I remember it vividly because there were several questions that I had. And I know that one of the things they were working on were the numbers, because they had numbers at that time higher than between 41 and 47 as outlined in this report.
Right.
My considerations come from the fact that it is an enormous amount of public funds that are funding these for a nonprofit organization. And I would like to see how that would really be switched more, that 80 to 20% role. Like you mentioned, in other counties, the funds are just the reverse of that. But because we're using public money, I'm just not in agreement that that's going to pan out. I know that we can pull out, but I'm not comfortable with it still the way it's been ironed out. So that's why
Let me see if I can get you some more information on that for the next meeting. I'll come back with
Okay.
something, but, okay.
I appreciate it.
Anyway, this passes 4-1. Item number 10E, recommendation regarding placement of post office box in downtown.
Just quickly, I'll just mention, you have my report. There have been some questions. As you know, when we did the streetscape project, there were a couple of post office boxes that came out. One was the one located in the parking lot, which has been put back at the back of the parking lot instead of the front, but it is put in there as a drive-up box. The other one was located at the corner of Fresno and Main Street. That one was removed while we did the project, and there's been some requests that one go back in. Ernie and myself spoke to the postmaster about that, and he's open to whatever. There was a look at possibly being able to put it at the bank, the front of their parking lot. They have a planter box that they have agreed that we could put it in there if we wanted to. The concern or the question that came up is, how do we want to locate these? Where do we want to locate those so that they are in a central location, if you will, and provide the needs to provide the post office boxes. There was some questions or some comments made that perhaps if the location could be placed at the post office, because when someone is trying to mail a letter after hours, perhaps the first place you think to look is to go to the post office. And so that was one of the issues that came up, and we looked at that. We talked to the postmaster, and he said he's open to that. It would possibly work there. There's a couple of newspaper boxes there. The building is indented slightly there, so it wouldn't quite fit completely back of the sidewalk, but most of the box would go back of the sidewalk in that location. It's centrally located and would provide the service there. Staff is open to any of these recommendations, so it's kind of up to the council where you feel you might want to put it. We can go with any of them. We feel that perhaps our opinion, staff's opinion, was that the one in front of the post office might be the best location, but we're open to any of them.
Has anyone approached postmaster about putting a slot in the wall or door?
Yeah,
of the
we
post
mentioned
office?
that, Ernie, and he didn't really seem to want to do that. I'm not sure what his objection is to that, but he didn't. He
Well,
said,
you
I
probably have to have
can put a
secure
box there.
inside there.
It's probably the cost.
Could be.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're supposed to be cutting back right now.
I think we should put it back in front of the post office like it used to be years ago.
I've never been in a town yet that didn't have a box in front of the post office.
There used to be
Until
one
here.
there years ago.
I'm in agreement, but I'd leave the one in the back of the parking lot.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh,
one will
definitely,
stay.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's definitely, when it's raining.
Yeah.
No, they have one available, the one that came out at the corner of Fresno
Right.
and Main Street. They have it available. He says, you tell me where to put it and I'll
That
put
would
it
be
there.
good.
So,
Post office.
It'd be nice to keep it off of the sidewalk, but
Sidewalk's fine.
and this one would be
Not that bad.
almost all the way off. The front of it would
Well,
be a little bit
when it
out.
was down on the corner of Fresno and Main, it was on the sidewalk.
It won't hurt
middle
if it's on the
sidewalk,
sidewalk.
yeah.
That's
Well,
normal.
I mean, now, we want to try and hopefully get a scrubbing machine to clean those sidewalks occasionally, and the more things are encroaching on the sidewalk, the less we can get in there to clean, so.
Well, the only alternative there is at the bank, because it's not on the sidewalk.
Yeah. But I mean, there are other things that are out on the sidewalk anyway, so. It's,
Look at all those pots that they just put up there.
Yeah.
I mean, in front of the real estate place and then the
Yeah.
building across the street. God, there must be 6, 8, 10, 12 pots.
Okay, can
I
we
agree
have
with
some-
Cleve's idea. This was his idea originally.
You want to, which one you've done, in the front of the post office?
Yes.
Okay,
I make a motion, we place a box in front of the post office.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Number 10F, review council goals and objectives. Cleve?
This item I didn't provide in your packet, so if you can refer to the screen up here, we'll go through those. I have provided an update to those. Item number 1, or goal number 1, solicit proposals for downtown plaza design by 6/102. What that should be saying, I think, is to get proposals on a cost so that we can put it in the budget, and that is on target. I am working on that so that we can have that dollar figure considered in the budget. So I am working on that.
Are you, excuse me, are you
yes.
sending this out?
I'm not going to send anything out. Well, I may send, just fax anything up, but I am talking to people just verbally and telling them, especially to RRM, who has done the work before. Okay. They're the main ones that I'm going to look at to try to get a budget figure so we know what. I'm not doing formal proposals. I'm just trying to get a budget figure at this time. Okay. So, item number 2 involves the final map for phase 1 of the industrial park. We've addressed that quite a bit tonight. What I put in here, date will be revised to 7/102 based on requirements of Merced County. We hope to have it prior to that, but that's the date that I'm recommending that be moved to.
Well, you knew this information at the time that Mr. Rocha was here, that you had put that date up there. Why did we refer to that 7/1 date? Is there any reason why we didn't give a definitive date at that time? We want to do it a lot sooner than that. We want to do it.
I know we do. What I'm saying is, until I can get more information from Merced County, I can't give you a solid date because some of these things are out of my hands. For example, the issue with the agreement that they say that now that they want to provide it, they aren't giving me a date when they'll have that to me, just that they want us to use their agreement, and when they get it done, they'll send it to us. But
okay, so that's a direct contradiction.
If you would like, if you would like me to put that date earlier, I can do that, and I will. That's the project I'm going to be working 24 hours a day for the next 30 days to try to get done.
Okay.
But if you want an earlier date, I can change that.
Let's make it June 15th.
Okay. Is that consensus of the council on that?
Well, you can put any date you want up
Yeah, you
there.
can put
Just
Christmas.
want it
Yeah,
to happen. It'll happen when it happens.
I think the date is immaterial. I think what you really, I think the date is immaterial. What you really want to do is to get it completed as soon as possible.
Just take out that date.
Yeah,
put
take
in
out the
ASAP.
date, and it's arbitrary. It doesn't mean anything.
Just put ASAP.
That's why I was wondering why it was there.
Well, the object of this is, it has a date in there, and it has an item to revise it if necessary, and so that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
So, what's your pleasure?
ASAP.
Just as soon as possible, yes.
Okay.
Number 1 priority.
The next one is to research. I apologize for the small size of this. I'm trying to get this improved so that it'll be more readable for you. But research and develop a property acquisition and rehabilitation plan to revitalize downtown businesses to present to the city council. That's due 10/1. Our city planner is working on that. I've talked to him and he says that is on target. Next item, working with Economic Development Committee, review and evaluate land use in the Highway 33 specific plan and make recommendations to Planning Commission. That's on target. We haven't actually met on that, but I will continue to work on that, and that one should continue to move forward. Next item, this is under improved community involvement. Introduce the agenda item for Hispanic Cultural Awareness Proclamation by the mayor celebrating Cinco de Mayo. That was done. Item number 2, reinstate publication of the quarterly change to 3 times per year newsletter to inform and invite community participation. That is on target. We are actually preparing that newsletter currently. We haven't set a final date when we're going to mail out the first one, but we are working on it. Some of you met today. We do have an intern who we are using this summer, and that's one of the projects she's going to be working on, is to revise that newsletter and get it in a template format that we can use from each time, so that we'll be ready to go to that and can issue it on a regular basis. So that item is on target. Item number 3, working with the mayor and Chamber of Commerce, update and distribute welcome packets to new residents, businesses, and visitors to inform them about the city. Margaret has told me that is on target. She's working on updating that, and she'll work with the Chamber of Commerce and the mayor once she gets some more information together to keep that going. Item number 4, working with the City Council, conduct a town hall meeting to encourage community participation in youth and adult recreation programs. This is a very difficult one. I've talked, I believe, to Councilmember Parker a little bit about this. We can hold a town hall meeting. My concern is I don't think you'll get anybody to come out to it. That's the most difficult thing there is especially saying, we want to talk to you about volunteering for recreation programs. Would you please come out to a meeting and talk to us? You're not going to get a real good turnout.
If you tell them we're gonna do away with all recreation programs, they'll be out.
Now, the idea that we have, and I apologize to Chief Brady because I haven't talked to him about this yet, but the police department is preparing to hold a couple of neighborhood barbecues this summer. What my recommendation is that we prepare some little flyers involving recreation and volunteering, and we'll have the recreation supervisor, myself, and perhaps some of the council members that would like to come out to those. And that would be a good opportunity where there will be people out that we can talk to, just share the flyer with them, and kind of in a non-formal setting, invite them to become, because there may be some people that we can meet that may not know about our Recreation Commission and may not know how they can get involved, and maybe we can give them some ideas. So I apologize, Chief, and hopefully that's all right with you that we combine this. For your information, the first one is scheduled for this week, the 17th. That's this Friday. We may not be able to get all the information together for that one, but the next one, do you know the date on the next one, Chief? I'll let you know. The next one it's in June or July? Okay, so there's another one in June and another July, different parts of the city. And so we will, I'll make sure that I give you plenty of notice when those meetings are. I will let you know this one. I apologize for the late notice on this one, but it is this Friday, the 17th. Friday, right? And this one will be located at Barrington Park, and it will start around 6 o'clock, right? 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, thank you. I didn't get my calendar out, but yeah, so around 5 o'clock. I don't know if any of you saw the one we did about a year ago, a little less than a year, about 6 months ago, I guess. We did it over at the Silver Ranch Project, had a real good turnout. The police officers did an excellent job. Met with a lot of the kids, played football with them, and we cooked some food for them, gave out some free hot dogs and actually some tri-tip sandwiches at that event, and it went very well. I think this would work better than just having a formal town hall meeting, and so that's what we're going to be shooting for. If any of you had other ideas or object to that, let me know, and we'll move in another direction.
What if we said town hall meeting with Wolfson's tri-tip steak?
There you go.
Before you move on, Cleve, just item number 2, because I remember doing our strategic planning under these guys working with staff on this. Would you keep me informed on the publication, and I think I may have some input to help out on that one as well, along with the town hall meeting.
Okay. Any other questions on any of those items?
No.
Just the one question. You said this was going to start at 5 o'clock
Yes.
on Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good time?
Well, it'll go between 5 and 7.
Okay.
So it'll, you know, they'll be out there for, I think, about 2 hours, won't they, yes. Chief? I believe they're going to roll in about 5. Are they rolling in?
5.
Yeah. So they're going to just start barbecuing. It'll probably be closer to 6 by the time, you know, they get things going, and 5:30 to 6 when they start eating and stuff. So, yeah.
Save you a hot dog.
Next item, enhance police services. Develop and begin to implement an officer retention program or plan. The chief is working on that. There will be some items that we will look at in our budget this year, and other items that he is working on. So that one is on target. Item number 2, develop and hold a workshop for all officers to improve their interaction with the community. The chief is working on that one. That is also on target.
Chief, have you had any yet at all?
Workshops
Workshop.
like this.
No, what we are doing now is we just had half the officers go to the museum for Tools for Tolerance down in LA, and we have a second half going off in June. That's part of it. It's not really a workshop, but it's part of our training.
Well, one thing I did notice, and I was pleased to see, several times now I have seen officers stopped for their car, outside their car, leaning up against it, talking to the kids. Just, you know, just normal, not beating them up. I mean, just normal. Normal.
Skateboarders or what?
Just normal conversations. I mean, and this is what I want to see, is them participating with the public.
Hands on the car.
So, you know, at least they're making progress.
And I'll pass that on. Thank you.
We don't call it beating people up. It's reasonable force necessary.
Oh, okay. How's the old days?
Okay. Item number 3, working with the police chief and Councilmember Applegate, develop the pros and cons regarding contracting for police service with Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department and present to the City Council for consideration and recommendation. I'm still gathering data on that, and we'll schedule a meeting with Councilmember Applegate in the near future to begin looking at that. So that one is on target. Next item, improve the city's infrastructure. Item number 1, working with the city attorney and Merced County, complete the fee agreement for the industrial park. I've put some notes here. I've changed the date from 5/1 to 6/1. The fees, the recommended fees were submitted to Merced County on April 26th, and the agreement was submitted to them at that time. As I mentioned earlier tonight, the agreement, they don't want to use our agreement now. They want to use their own agreement. So we're kind of waiting for them to provide that to us. So I pushed that date back to 6/1. As I mentioned, they do have the fees we have submitted to them, the recommended fees to them. It was done on April 26th. Item number 2, call for bids for industrial park improvements. At your next meeting, I will have the plans here, and we will request permission from the council to call for bids on that. As there were a couple of items we mentioned tonight that we're still waiting on. However, we feel that we can go ahead and present that to the council, and we will hold off calling for bids until we have that approval by Merced County. But we'll bring that back to your next meeting. As you can see, I've put that one, moved that date back also. Item number 3, present a program for a pavement management system in the city to the City Council for consideration. That one is on target. Ernie Garza is working on that with the county, and that project is moving forward. Item number 4, complete the funding request to Stancog for sidewalk infill, curbs, gutters, and handicap access. Right now that we're still stating that is on target. However, based on some things Stancog has told us, there may be a delay on that one, or whether or not that funding is going to work. So we're working with them, and we'll have an update next month on that one, whether or not that will still be online. Hold on just a second. I think I skipped a slide here. Item number 6, develop and distribute a request for proposal to update the city's water master plan. We're working on that. Same thing for number 7, the same item, only for the wastewater master plan. That was brought up in the meeting on April 30th when we approved the capital facility fees, that those are 2 items that need to be done. Item number 8, complete construction of the infrastructure improvements for phase 1 of the industrial park. That still has an October 1st date on it. Well, we'd still like to shoot for that date and have those improvements done by then. Develop an urban water management plan and develop a stormwater management plan. Those are some big issues. As you recall, those were future goals that were put out to the April 1st date. And right now we're looking at those. Ernie Garza and Bob Borchard are working on those 2 issues. Next, enhance the appearance of the city. Item number 1, working with the Architectural Review Committee, develop and present to the City Council for their consideration a community improvement recognition program to honor individuals and groups who contribute to the appearance of the city. That is going to the Architectural Review Committee tomorrow. They will have a recommendation back to the council at your meeting on the 28th. I put on target. It's going to the Architectural Review Committee by then. The 5/15 date basically works. It'll be at your meeting on May 28th is a comment I have there. Item number 2, prepare a proposal to contract for code enforcement and present to the City Council for consideration. I have the proposal, and it will be considered in your fiscal year budget. Item number 3, working with Rotary Club and volunteers, hold a volunteer day to improve the appearance of the city. I'm working with the recreation supervisor to come up with a project. We need a specific project, and then we will work with the groups to try and do that. So currently that one is on target. I missed putting the check mark in that one. And that's all. Any questions on those?
Good job. Can we get a printout of those, Clint?
Yes. Yeah, and I apologize. I didn't get this for the agenda, but I will I'll put a printout of this in your box so that you have it. And from now on, I'll provide this ahead of time so that you have it at the meeting.
Tom, were you gonna say something? No? Okay.
No, all I said was good job.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as we keep updated on those things, why? That's-
My plan
Keep 'em
is
going.
to report on this at the first meeting of each month. So once a month, we will report back on this, unless there's something that needs to be done in between. But normally, I will do it at the first meeting of each month, if that's acceptable.
Yeah, going through that facilitation, by doing this is the only way we're gonna keep on track
Sure.
and doing what we should be doing.
Okay, Cleve, any other items?
The only thing, just quickly, I've mentioned to some of you, finally, the clamshell bases for our street lights have come in. I'm still trying to get a date. They just came in yesterday, and I'm trying to get a date of when they will begin installing those. As soon as I can, I'll send you an email, let you know what that date will be.
They're here or in port?
They're here.
Oh, they're actually
Yeah,
here?
they're in the city. I think they're all here. I don't know if we've opened them up to get a count yet, but there's 2 large boxes of them.
And
that
we
came
think
in.
they fit this time?
We haven't tried them yet.
One thing for Cleve, in front of the theater,
Mhm.
you were talking about getting some pots there that were similar to the one we have, only smaller.
Right.
Yeah, over the weekend, somebody peeled out over all the bricks and left those
Well,
tire
that was the
tracks.
caterer, he pulled his truck
No,
up.
it wasn't.
on
They
there.
didn't peel
Is
out.
that
It was just
right?
a heavy truck that pulled across.
Oh, sure left some tracks on there.
I know.
Yeah. that truck-
Anyway, I've talked to Mr. Garza, and we are trying to coordinate a day when we can go look at that and find some pots, and we want to just buy some and get them in, so we're
That's,
working on
and
that.
also, are we going to use the same pots across the street between the benches, or?
Yeah, the plan is to put 2 in front of the theater and then 1 in between the benches, so a total of 3, and see how that looks,
that
and
would
then
look
we'll
good.
kind of go from there.
Or a clock up there or something.
Yeah.
Don't.
Is that all you have, Cleve? That's all I have. Okay. John?
Just everybody come down on the 26th, see the cars and the bikes, and should be a good time. Chief guaranteed it.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
How about the lettering, Cleve, on the, is there any news on that?
Well, we think we've come up with a solution. We need to sit down with the contractor now and figure out how we're going to get it done. And we're working on that. We're going to move as quickly as we can on that. We've talked to our city engineer. He thinks this solution will probably work. We need to do a little bit more research and talk to. Just quickly, I can tell you what it is. What we're looking at doing is putting in it's called a rubberized asphalt in those letters. So it has some flexibility. It's hard, but it's flexible, so as the concrete moves, it will move with them. It'll be black in color, as asphalt is. You can actually get it in any color, but it will be black to go in there. And so we need to talk to the companies that do that and figure out, if it will work for sure and how it might work. But we're working on that, and we've had our engineer look at that. And so we'll sit down with them and work on it.
Is our engineer still looking at what to do with the rest of the concrete, particularly on the Fresno Street intersection?
Yeah, we've got to come up with a solution on that one. I think based on our walkthrough, we determined that Fresno Street, something needs to be done with that one. And we're going to look at seeing if there is a way to do it sufficiently that we don't have to take the whole thing out, or if we're going to have to take the whole thing out. So that's where we're at on that one. The other intersections, I think the conclusion is that the cracks in those are not as severe, and that they're more hairline, and that the other intersections probably do not need to be replaced.
John, you have anything else?
That's all I had.
Bob?
Just, I guess a comment about Highway 33. I'd like to see it spruced up a little bit. I don't know what our policy is now as far as if it's Caltrans' responsibility or our responsibility, but it's not real bad, but that's the way people come into our town.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm concerned that it doesn't look that good right now.
Where are you talking about? The road side of the roads, the weeds? and
I'm
stuff,
talking
or-
weeds, yeah.
Okay,
Especially the area where all the equipment was stored during the
Right.
project.
right,
And I see they've moved everything out, Cleve, but
yeah,
the weeds are still present.
okay.
And
We'll
it's
get
just,
that.
there's just weeds along there, and it's not very attractive for our city to, anyway. Just a general
Okay.
comment. That's all I have.
I hope you noticed that coming in from either direction, it's clean. There is no garbage or trash along there.
Rotary was out there.
Rotary was
the other day,
Yeah,
I
but
saw
you
it.
guys ought to extend all the way into town. Don't stop, just go all the way through.
Well, see, we take care of the
I know,
the state
we-
highway,
I
not
know,
the city
I-
of Newman.
That's what I'm concerned about. That's all I have.
Okay, Tom?
I just thought I'd mention that I'll be gone the next 2 meetings. And also, it is really nice to see Tom Hallinan Senior here again.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Well, we began this meeting with Senior Day, so. I was just gonna make a quick comment when we were talking about the streetscaping. So on our local paper, May 31st, of course, is our opening day. I don't know what have you've discussed with our Chamber President Paul Wallace as far as with the businesses for continuing that, but I definitely would like to see something in the major paper as well announcing our town is complete. In
You mean the
Stanislaus
West Side
County.
Index? That's the major
That's a
paper,
major
isn't it?
paper.
Well, I mean, the West Side Index, and there's also the Modesto B, which goes throughout the county. So
Yeah, they'll come down for that.
yeah, and the only other thing I wanted to mention, I noticed we have opening the bid, the Newman Memorial Building roof.
Yes.
I just didn't recall seeing that as an agenda item recently. Was that something that we
We
came before,
we went
or-
ahead and moved it. It's a budgeted item. It was in the budget this year as one of our projects to complete this year.
Oh, okay, it was
And
just one of
so
the budgeted items.
we figured it was in there, and so we didn't bring that. It wasn't a major project, so we just went ahead with it. Now, if you'd like me to bring all of this to you, I can.
No, it was
but-
probably one less than 5,000 or something.
No, it's actually estimated about 40, I think, Ernie. Is that correct? It's about $40,000.
Do
And,
we usually see those as a council action before it's
It
before, or no?
depends what, there's different views on it. If it's not a major construction project, sometimes, if it's a major construction project, we definitely do. This one's a simple re-roof project. It is a little expensive because we are completely re-roofing. It's a pretty good sized building. But it's, it has been approved in the budget, so it's not like it's something the council hasn't approved. But
Well, it only
it's
ma-
up to the, sure. And I think the reason you've seen that is because there are construction projects that we do bring back to you. I just mentioned the one to authorize us to call for bids. I've seen it done both ways in cities. My position is I try to bring most of those. Some of those we go ahead and move forward with if they have been approved in the budget and there's no budget, items regarding that, no budget issues regarding that and getting it done. So if the council would like all of those brought back, I don't have a problem doing that.
I think it
It's
would just maybe behoove staff to give us notification of it at
Sure.
some point, even if it's a budgeted item.
Sure.
Only because I bring reference to mind of the theater when we
Mhm.
approved a certain amount of funds, roughly about this amount. I
Mhm.
think it was somewhere around $45,000 for the roofing at the theater.
Mhm.
I just think it's just an informational
Yeah.
item as such.
Well, we will bring it back to you. I think on the theater, if I recall, what we're bringing back is we had some cost issues there. And we'll definitely bring it back for you to award the bids when those come in. But I'll make a note of that and make sure that we bring all of those to you so that you're aware of them if that's what the council would like.
Thank you, Mr.
Anything
Mayor.
else?
That's it.
No, with Tim though, I mean, on the 31st, we could take the business fund and buy tri-tip from Wolfson and serve all of it.
You're not gonna be here.
Paul would protest.
As Cleve mentioned, we did a walkthrough on Monday morning early. So all the results of that will be given to the different contractors, and they have 2 weeks to complete it. And if it isn't completed, their penalty phase starts at that point. Most of it looks pretty good, but there's a lot of loose ends. So we're going to get all this done by the 31st, hopefully. Another thing is, I'd like for us to inquire as to why nothing has been done on the Bigelow lot that the city loaned the money for.
He has submitted his plans, are being reviewed right now.
Okay. And Ernie, have the weeds been taken off of that? It was, the whole lot, back of the lot was full of weeds the other day.
There's some weed work to be done, and that's another one that's gonna be scheduled for.
Okay, all right. And the last one, we, Councilmember Parker and Applegate and myself and Cleve and Paul Wallace went to this Economic Development Summit over at the Stan State University today. And they did a PowerPoint presentation listing all the cities, and everyone had the automated voting boxes that you could vote on all these questions they put up on the PowerPoint. And they listed all of the cities there that you lived in or in the county, and Newman wasn't listed. And what was the next one that wasn't listed on? What was that one?
Work closest to.
Yeah, which city do you work closest to? And again, Newman wasn't mentioned, so.
So I yelled out, "Where's Newman?"
So, anyway, they got it straightened out. And one other quick thing, I do not like the firing line, but this one thing that was in there today, it isn't that I don't like it, it's that if people would write to us, then we know what the problems are, we can take care of them. They write in here, we don't know who they are.
Well, I look at it as the comedy section.
Well, for some of them, yeah. One of the things was people were complaining about not being able to park on Main Street. The reason they can't park on Main Street is because we have the street sweeper go there every morning, and they can't get around the cars to sweep the street. The other one is a lady has a problem with the building department. I've had 2 or 3 other people speak to me recently about problems with the building department, and I'd like to get that on the agenda for the next meeting to review this and see exactly what the problems are, investigate some of these things, and just see whether they are, from people I've talked to, the building department is totally confusing. One hand doesn't know what the other one's doing over there, and they're coming up with ridiculous things that aren't necessary. So I'd like to get that on the board so we can get it out.
What would you like on the agenda? I'm not sure. Just to tell staff to investigate, or, because we can do that
You can do
now.
that right now. Okay, why don't we investigate and have a report the next meeting? We'll talk to some of these people, and like this lady was building a lattice-covered shade thing out in her pergola or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And really, if you don't fasten to a building, you don't need a permit. We don't know if it's fastened to a building or not, so it's things like that. So we get these things, and then I know I've talked to these people at the building department. I haven't had any projects to do with them, but they just, I don't think they really know what they're doing. So anyway, I'd like to look into that.
I think you need a consensus on that.
Okay,
I agree with you.
okay.
Well, first of all, let's get some information out. I mean, you
Well,
know,
that's what we're trying to
I
find
mean,
out,
I'm not gonna look at this an article.
No.
and,
This just
because,
reminded me of one. Now,
I have
this
some
particular
difficult
person I know of.
reading some of those articles.
Yeah, as I said, I think most of them are ridiculous.
I'll
but-
prepare a report and bring it back to the next
And the
meeting.
people aren't ridiculous, it's just that they would write us a letter or write a letter to the editor and sign their name, then we can contact them and solve these problems. Tim, what your consensus to this is to go and check it out?
Yeah, I initially thought maybe you were alluding to the article, but then when you brought up the fact that this is something that you were concerned with before, move forward through with that.
Yeah. This just reminded me of it, so,
It can be
Okay,
it can be a
there's a
good reminder
consensus.
of things.
yeah. Okay, that's all I have, so
Move we adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Rapid fire.